This is the second part of our Italian adventure, Sicily. Grab your popcorn and sit back and enjoy. So, after much to do around volcanoes, it was time for us to head south, to Sicily. And boy did we get a reception. At the colour of that water. Now that's blue. What a welcome to Sicily. The water is absolutely gorgeous. You see it's clear blue. I can see the bottom, which is 6-7 metres down. Dive the anchor, that's dug in like a tick. That Manson Supreme anchor is just every type of ground that we've put it in, it's held, and it's held well. I'm really impressed. Manson, if you're watching this is an endorsement. I don't really make a lot of endorsements, but a brilliant anchor. Really pleased with it. So a little fishing port over there, and last night we wandered up to that white building with the green tops, if you can see that. Behind David, and had a couple of beers, took the dogs as it was nice and cool in the evening. So a little fishing village, a little marina, a bar that closes at 7:30 in the evening on the quayside. Couldn't believe it. We turned up 8 of us to have a few beers at 7:15, and the woman said no, we're closing in 15 minutes, and promptly shut the door. So we went and spent our money elsewhere. Strange. There's a lighthouse up there. A rather loud French boat right next to us on charter. A lovely French trawler yacht there. Fantastic lines it's got. Can't really see it from here, but very classic looking shape. And then we headed for Palermo. Palermo is one of the biggest commercial ports in Sicily. As we entered the port, a little chap came up to us in his rib and asked us if we'd got a booking. Obviously he was trying to, flog his marina berths. They franchise the berths out in a lot of marinas. We'd already booked, so we didn't need his services. So he scooted off. Once we'd got clearance for our marina berth, and it had been assigned to us, we lined ourselves up into the wind. And if you watch this piece of footage, you'll see that we're doing something different. There's a reason behind it. But while you watch it, think what that reason could be. Having little or no tides, there's no major current running in this harbour, but let's explain why we did it like this. So here's the reason. We didn't go in like this, reversing in. downwind of the slip, coming across the other boats and then backwards into our berth for this reason. We'd have got to this point and the wind would have been forcing us onto the downwind boats. If anything had gone wrong, we'd have crashed straight into them. So what we did was we reversed downwind, brought the back of the boat in close and allowed the wind to catch the bow and bring us round. As we then straighten up towards the berth, the wind is round now pushing us on the nose, and the boat always pivots better with the wind pushing the nose round. It makes for a much more controlled entrance into the berth. The other reason is reversing into the wind would have slowed our progress through the water, and it's water over the rudder that gives you steerage. Doing it the other way gives you more steerage. So the main town of Palermo, or city of Palermo, is over there, and we'll show you some clips of our excursions in a bit.
The city was founded in 734 BC by the Phoenicians as the city of Ziz. Palermo then became a possession of Carthage. 2 Greek colonies were established, known collectively as Panormus, or Allport. The Carthaginians used this name on their coins after the 5th century BC. As Panormus, the town became part of the Roman Republic and Empire for over 1,000 years. From 831 to 1072, the city was under Arab rule during the Emirate of Sicily, when the city first became a capital. The Arabs shifted the Greek name into Balaam, which is Arabic, the root for Palermo's present-day name. Following the Norman reconquest, Palermo became the capital of a new kingdom from 1130 to 1816, the Kingdom of Sicily, and the capital of the Holy Roman Empire, under Emperor Frederick II and King Conrad IV. Our next anchorage we found by chance, and it was just beautiful.
We left that beautiful anchorage we showed you last time and continued anti-clockwise around Sicily to Port Trapani. Busy fishing port. There's a fish market in there. There's another market up here, I'll show you in a minute. Fruit market as well as a fish market here. Look at the size of them melons. No, those melons. Those melons there. Amazing fresh fruit. Look at the tomatoes. A few jellyfish in the harbour this morning. Big ones. The Rhizostoma plumo goes by many names: barrel jellyfish, dustbin lid jellyfish, and even frilly-mouthed jellyfish, to name a few. It's known not just by the blue ring of the umbrella, but the sheer size of up to 2 feet wide. The barrel jellyfish is so large, in fact, that young fish and small crabs seek shelter under its mildly stinging tentacles. Here we are at Trapani. I'll put a long and lat down here, anchored in the main harbour. The marina's in there. Rather expensive for what it is. Very commercial. That's the harbour entrance over there. Big barge. TZ and Eternity, anchored over by the fort. After a couple of days, we continued, roughly due southwest, to Favignana. There was some strong winds coming in from the north, and we wanted to be somewhere that was really sheltered. The landing spot. Just walked into town. Poor old Southie. We found a tap and wetted the dogs down. They've had a paddle as well, but... For many years, the population relied on the tuna industry, stringing great nets across the bays with these anchors. Unfortunately, they overfished, and now all that remains is a sea of used and broken anchors, an empty cannery and processing plant, and a few tranquil bays, and of course no tuna. With the tuna gone, the locals now rely heavily on tourism. High-speed ferries now bring people across from Sicily or the mainland, and unfortunately tourism brings its own problems for the island. One of these issues is the income is very seasonal. Many of the shops, cafes, bars, bric-a-brac shops and novelty goods emporiums all close down over the winter, and the place becomes a ghost town. Given the island's historical significance, it could really make some money out of it, if enough people just knew about the history. This is the passenger ship Lampedusa. No, it's not on fire, that's the pollution it's putting out. And you can see right across the mainland of Sicily, thick, acrid black smoke. He's also on a collision course for us with a CPA of just 150 metres. So we're going to keep an eye on him. That is unbelievable. How many thousand miles would we have to do to put that amount of CO2 and noxious gases and soot into the atmosphere? Few circumnavigations, I bet. From the island we travelled further south, heading east to Mazzara. We only stayed one night, briefly taking the dogs ashore before heading on again to Licata, or Licata, depending on how you pronounce it, I guess. Having sailed most of the day, we decided to pull in behind a headland and set out some winds that were coming very strongly from the west. We all held okay, and this was part of the footage we put in our anchoring video, if you remember. Licata Marina has good protection from winds from all directions and those notorious Mediterranean storms that happen during the winter. We had a real good look round and we met some of the people that live aboard there all year round. In fact, we enjoyed it so much, we stayed a few days. The marina has some really good facilities, well kept, clean, tidy, and the marineros are very helpful. In the town, which is only a couple of 100 metres away, all the shops that you could need, even a Lidl. The liveaboard community there had organised a barbecue for the Sunday evening, and so they invited us along via their Facebook page. And we took part in a traditional Finnish game. It's a bit like boule or pitong. You have to knock over sticks and then they put them up in a different place. Couldn't really get the rules, but we seemed to have fun. David enjoyed himself. After leaving Licata, we went on to Marina Ragusa. It was a kind of soulless place and absolutely vast. We decided we wouldn't want to stay there for the winter. And then our chief navigator, Linda, found this place. It was a stunning hidden little anchorage. Two days later, we moved on. The island of Capo Pereso. It's as far south and as far east as you can go in Sicily. There's a fantastic fort, the statue of the Holy Madonna, and a tuna factory that went out of business 20 years ago. Rounding the island, we were now technically in the Aegean. Looks like a bunch of girls are having fun.
What, Hindu? Yeah, it's like a Hindu. I reckon. The DJ is so shit. Did I say that out loud?
You said that out loud. We anchored behind the island for one night, and then needing some AC and desperately needing some water, we called into a marina for one night, before moving on to Syracuse. There we are, Syracuse. Norwegian Spirit out there. We are out there by that cat. A Norwegian Dawn there. We've just tied up the dinghies. Time for a coffee and a croissant. Syracuse, or Syracusa, is located on the southeast corner of Sicily, an island off the coast of Italy. There's a large bay or lagoon, and in the northeast corner, a small island covered in historic monuments. Coffee and a croissant on the front, little bar here, and now we're off to look at some architecture and some history. In 1693, an earthquake struck parts of southern Italy near Sicily, Calabria and Malta on January the 11th at around 2100 local time. The earthquake was preceded by a damaging foreshock on the 9th of January. The main quake had an estimated magnitude of 7.4, the most powerful in Italian recorded history, and causing the death of 60,000 people. Syracuse was flattened, and so everything you see here was built after that date. I guess the EU grant must have run out. It's never been finished. Ho ho ho. The Temple of Apollo is dated to the beginning of the 6th century BC and was therefore the most ancient Doric temple in Sicily, more or less. It was once a Byzantine church, from which period the front steps and traces of the central door are still preserved. It was then an Islamic mosque during the Emirate of Sicily. Beyond the temple, there's a huge market, selling fresh fruit, vegetables, fish and meat from the local area. At one end of the market, there are a series of spice stalls, selling spices from, well, just about everywhere, from cinnamon to nutmeg, peppers to capers. The Fountain of Diana is a monumental fountain from 1907 by Giulio Machetti, with the collaboration of his sculptor's son, Mario. Located in the Piazza Archimedes in Syracuse, the fountain faces south and highlights the figure of Diana with a bow and a dog, the attributes of the goddess hunting, protector of Ortagina in Greek times. The fountain is unusual in that it's constructed from concrete and not carved stone. The Temple of Athena is a Doric temple built in Syracuse in the 5th century BC by the tyrant Gallio after his victory over the Carthaginians in the Battle of Himera. The temple was preceded by a cult site which dated back to the 8th century BC with an altar discovered in a later excavation. The temple was converted to a Christian place of worship, and parts of it are still found incorporated into the walls on the left side of the Duomo. Some columns of local limestone and the local stylebone on which they stood still remain visible. Sunset in another 20 minutes. That's it, I think you've got it. Oh, excellent. The city gateway, built by Dionysius the Great, which remains visible, is the base of the two quadrangular towers, over 8 metres on each side, which probably allowed access to the road that fought and connected the Temple of Apollo and that of Athena. The gate was discovered in 1977, and it assumes a certain importance due to the fact that the islet is the only remnant of the ancient Dionysian foundations. I managed to find these artists' impressions of what the gateway looked like online. As you can see, the porta or gateway leads up to the Temple of Apollo. Just 10 minutes away from the city centre there's an ancient Greek amphitheatre which is remarkably well preserved. Apparently it's one of the best in the area. We weren't able to visit it due to constraints of time and of course COVID-19. There's also the ancient caves. The Ear of Dionysus is one of these. If you get the chance to visit Syracuse or Syracusa, we'd highly recommend it. After 2 weeks of being anchored in Syracuse, we headed back down to Marzamemi, then Porto Paolo, and back to Licata, or Licata, depending on how you say it.
A few days before we were due to leave Marzamemi, the girls and I decided to have a day out in the nearest town. The marina very kindly lent us their car, so we set off bright and early one morning and went into the ancient city of Noto. We climbed up the steps to go and have a look inside the cathedral. Inside the cathedral was this scale model made out of wood. The original cathedral had been destroyed in an earthquake in 1636, so this was obviously rebuilt. The painted ceilings were absolutely amazing. The stained glass windows seemed to reflect the light completely around the cathedral. Defined as the capital of Baroque in 2002, its historic centre was declared a World Heritage Site by UNESCO. You can see why. This ceiling is inside the Church of San Domenico. Look at the richness there. We thought these were painted steps, but on a closer inspection, they've actually got material laid on the risers. The architecture throughout the city was absolutely amazing. We had a lovely day.
It's our last night in Marzamimi, so we decide we're going to go out for a beer. Practising in the car park is one of these silent dance troupes. Really quite funny to watch. When we get to the old town, there's another wedding going on. The groom is pretending to polish the hubcaps of this Alfa Romeo with the wedding dress. Well, with the end of the season fast approaching and the weather becoming less predictable, it was time to head back to our winter berthing. Shame to leave Marzamemi, it's a lovely place. You can see our dinghies tied on the front. Once we get into some open water, we'll bring it round the back and put it back up on the davits. With very light winds at 12 to 14 degrees apparent, we weren't going to be able to sail on this part of the trip. We decided to go round to this place. We've been there before, the unfinished marina at Porto Paolo. There were strong westerlies forecast and quite a big southwest swell, so we tucked ourselves into the corner for the night. Patreons support the making of these videos. They don't support our lifestyle. The money that we get from Patreons and from YouTube goes towards better equipment like cameras, gimbals, headsets and data that we have to purchase for uploading these videos to YouTube. If you're not a patron, why don't you pop over to our Patreon page? The link's in the description. Or you can use this one here. We'd love to have you on board, and Patreons get lots of other things like real-time updates, tracking facilities. They can tell exactly where we are at any given time. Patrons can send us messages and take part in our Patreon forum. We can answer technical questions, get suggestions for them from videos and much more. So if you're not a patron, come on, join the crew!
Hi there!
Hi folks!
Hope you enjoyed the video.
That was the last of this year's videos.
It was.
Because it's New Year's Eve and we're just about to finish putting this one together and then upload it. Thank you so much to our patrons. You've been a tremendous support this year. we're very grateful. We mean that most sincerely.
We do.
Thank you to the subscribers, all your comments, good and bad. It's been a funny old year and we'd like to have gone a lot further, but
hey ho.
It's one of them things.
Well, in some ways, not being able to go further has made us stop more frequently, so we've been able to see more things.
Yeah, we have. And we've had some great sailing. We've had the shoot up a lot this year.
Yeah.
So, anyway, it's not so much sunny Licata as cold and rainy Licata.
Yeah,
Oscar's just about to go out for his walk, aren't you?
Afternoon walk.
Yeah, good boy.
The rain's just eased up a bit, so.
Yeah, he can get out.
Yeah. So, just leaves us to say Happy New Year
Happy
to you all.
New Year, yeah, and hope that next year is much better for all
Everybody.
of you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, from us to On Board Impavidus, happy 2021.
Yeah.
See you later.
Sail safe.
Sail safe. Bye.
Bye.